Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're buzzing as always. I'm super pumped to have today's guest on the show. We have Christopher Sheehan, the founder of Spritz Finance. Christopher is also an MIT computer scientist and repeat fintech entrepreneur. Chris's previous company, WorldCover, was an international insuretech company funded by Y Combinator, Index Ventures, Greylock, and other global VC investors. The company developed parametric insurance products and software, and its IP assets were acquired last year in 2021. Without further ado, I'm very pleased to welcome Christopher Sheehan to the Crypto News podcast. Chris, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Matt. How are you? Excited to be here.
I'm doing well, and I'm pumped to have you on. In the bio, the one thing, well, many things, but as a Y Combinator fan myself, I gotta ask, what was that like? I've always wanted to sort of give that a whirl myself. I got a couple friends who've been through the whirl. I've heard mostly positive things. What was your take on YC?
Great question, Matt. YC sort of formed and sort of instilled in me so much of the startup philosophy that, I'm even bringing to this Web3 startup. It's a question I get a lot. And sometimes I joke that the answer is often correlated with how much money that particular project was able to raise after the program. You raise a lot of money, awesome program. You don't, maybe not so good. And we were fortunate enough to raise a nice round after YC. But I have to say, it's sort of the community of YC that just kind of keeps on giving, whether it's the forums and kind of the inside information that everybody shares to the events and, in real life or virtual. And then the folks that have invested in my new company as well. So, I highly, highly recommend anybody consider YC. And it's just a great and growing group of people. And, I'm also part of the Orange DAO now, which is kind of it wasn't affiliated, but it's the DAO that a lot of the alumni sort of formed afterwards. And I've sort of seen that process start from just an idea to now there are funds, there are, 3 or 4 different committees. I went to the event in Amsterdam at DevConnect hosted by Orange DAO. They invested in Spritz. Amazing. And so it's cool to see that community, I think, quite naturally map from kind of traditional startups into Web3 as well through the Orange DAO. So 2 thumbs up for YC.
Wow. Love to hear that. What's something non-obvious that you took away? Not like work hard or use your network or none of that classic shit. I'm talking about were there any, under the table tidbits of gold from Paul Graham or anyone else at YC where you were just like, holy shit, that is non-obvious, but absolutely incredible advice or an incredible takeaway?
Yeah. I think there's some big things and some small things. One big thing was, do things that don't scale, which is, pretty common advice, but YC really, you've got to hit that week on week grow 7%. And when you're like, hey, I just walked in here with my co-founders, all we have is an idea. And they say, well, how are you going to grow 7% in 7 days? You're like, well, what number are we even tracking? Well, whatever that number is, just do the thing that grows the number. And it's sort of like these little itty bitty steps, kind of grinding it out, even doing things like, just going to events and signing people up yourself, right? That compounds, right? And the power of compounding is so powerful in startups. So do things that don't scale. YC is super into that. And then kind of a small thing that was interesting is around communicating ideas and presenting. When you apply to YC, you have to describe your company in, I think, 50 characters or less. It's, what is that? Nowadays, it's like a quarter of a tweet or less.
It's not even a one-liner.
Exactly. And then when you do demo day, it was, at least in my time, it was a 3-minute presentation. Your interview for YC is 10 minutes. When we're taught to present, we're taught to use like 130 point type. So how do you get your ideas into the most crisp, brief, clear, simple frame as possible is really a skill. And actually, I think it's a sign of a very thoughtful founding team to be able to do that. So that's kind of another thing that YC that I think was very surprising, and a skill I think that I've really tried to absorb and put out into the world nowadays too.
So well worth it in summation.
Yeah, I mean, soak it up. Why not? I'm someone who, I like to just learn and get all the help I can. So I sort of soak this stuff up. Other folks maybe just want to go and build and be left alone, and that's cool too. But I'm someone who loves the advice for sure.
I gotta ask you. Let's go a little off topic here. Your camera, it's a little trippy, but I like it though. Like it's again for those who aren't watching and are just listening, which I assume is most of you. Chris's camera like sort of follows him, but doesn't. It's like it engages the viewer. Like you got to give a plug. What camera is
it's
this?
A little. The cameraman's a little inebriated. Sometimes people say the feature is called Cameraman. It's another YC company. It's called Lumina, Lumina, and it's a 4K camera. It's like $250, but they use AI to, kind of just do the tracking and do kind of the repackaging into a 1080p feed that looks great, but has the ability to kind of track and make adjustments because it's 4K. So I don't know. Sometimes I turn it on. Sometimes I turn it off. To be honest, if it's noticed, then I'll usually just turn it off.
No, it's not distracting. It's cool. It's just when I first, was looking at you while you were speaking, I was like, is he like swiveling on a chair? Does he have his? I don't know.
I'm doing that too, though. So
yeah. Hey, multitasker.
Yeah,
so let's go back to your bio for a second here. Also, MIT computer scientist. Is that as grueling as it sounds? Was that just an absolute like head down 18-hour days? Caffeine dripping in at all times.
Yes.
What are the other ones? Ritalin, little Adderall, little Concerta. The
my
big
days
mix all works in.
Yeah, it was like in my days it was more like Coors Light, and then cheap coffee at night, and then cheap coffee in the morning. That was part of the fraternity system too at MIT, which is a great kind of release valve, including sports and everything. So. MIT will knock you down. I think one of my best sort of, I guess, academic performances was scoring something like I think a 40% on one of my final exams and having that be an A+ because it was graded on a curve. So,
wow.
It's the type of place where you study the whole semester, you think you know everything, and then you get to the exam and you literally wonder to yourself, is this even the right exam I'm taking? Because I don't recognize any of the problems. And so they're just stretching you at every opportunity. And it's wonderful for kind of brain growth, I say, and not so wonderful for, psychology and confidence and everything, which is, I think something they've worked on over time, but it's quite an experience for sure.
They have it down to a science, 100%.
Yeah.
Before we get into Spritz, which is the bread and butter of the show, besides yourself, I want to get in your head for a little bit. You seem like a very creative guy who loves to learn. I feel like you have a lust for learning. You're a bit of a sponge, or a huge sponge for that matter. Walk me through your morning or nighttime routines. Do you have any sort of daily disciplines or daily habits that really help you move the needle and become a very efficient learning version of Chris?
Yeah, interesting. Maybe it's a surprise or not, but I actually think one learns best, or at least one can learn quite effectively by actually leaving some space. Some space in the day and some idle time, right? I mean, we all hear about the ideas in the shower, that people have. And I think it's often on the weekends when I'm just with my son or just kind of taking a walk in the park or at the beach or something, where I'm really starting to process all the random thoughts and impulses that have come in through the week, and then come up with here's how, I should tell the story. Or here's the right solution to, combine these two products into an interesting experience. So, you still need to read the articles. I'm on Twitter, of course. Medium. I watch, too much YouTube, which is basically edutainment, of course, except when I'm watching, streamers and gaming.
Great word.
But but that's basically what YouTube is, right? Ad-supported edutainment, and even content like this, right? You could kind of say is in the category, podcasts and TikToks and all that. So I just absorb that, but I make sure not to kind of exhaust my brain to a place where I'm not absorbing anymore, right? And then leave that space to absorb it, whether it's just at night, or just going out for a walk or on the weekend.
Do you schedule that time? Like, do you block that off in the calendar?
I do actually, yes. So I can shout out another product. I don't believe they're a YC company, but I use a tool called Reclaim.ai, sort of about reclaiming your time. And you can say, hey, I want to read 3 times a week for an hour during the day. And it will pre-block off time in your calendar, but mark it as free. So it can still be scheduled over by other people. Gotcha. And then once it notices you're getting constrained in your time, it'll actually then mark it as busy and kind of freeze it in place. And you can set relative importances. So I'll put even things like a walk, obviously my lunch, reading, yep. And then time to work on, say, whether it's BD or marketing or things like that throughout the week to make sure I've got that space. But I'm not perfect. I'm a human, so there are definitely times when that time block arrives, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for a walk or watch maybe a non-useful YouTube video.
100%. I want to get into products for a bit. You seem like a massive product guy as well, and here's me just literally generalizing you like crazy. So my apologies if I'm overgeneralizing here, but you just dropped a couple world-class products on me as well. Do you have like a sort of my stack, or are you a product hunt guy? Like, where do you find these products, and what are some of your favorite ones right now that you'd love for people to use?
Boy, I've named a few already. Yeah, product hunt, interesting. In Hacker News, at least me personally, I haven't been so active on, but they really are like YC adjacent places that have really interesting launches. So I will go there sometimes just to cruise. We talk about YC a lot, but I mean, there's been so many companies that have gone through the platform. They used to have 200 plus companies per batch. So I get these emails, once a week, launching at YC, track your crypto taxes, better HR for international contractors, right? A lot of it's built for startups, or just wacky stuff about, the healthcare or, and products like that, or kind of mindfulness apps. So actually that's a huge amount for me. And then sure, podcasts, just kind of reading crypto news. I use Feedly to get RSS, kind of old school RSS feeds, because I feel like it's not an algorithm. It's me controlling what I see. It's not Twitter or TikTok telling me. And it's not so much, where I can't, it's not endless either. I can feel like, hey, I've checked this off. I've read what I need to read. So yeah, those variety of sources. And then obviously referrals, people mentioning stuff to me, I definitely write it down and pay attention.
And go from there. I love that. Crypto time. Your background. You founded, it's all like we live it, breathe it, baby. It's the show goes on, it never sleeps. After your insuretech company that was acquired, congrats on that, by the way. Was it a no-brainer decision to start Spritz? Was this a classic started the company because of the need? Which again, I'm as a Canadian, I cannot wait until you guys come up here. Mind you, we love putting massive walls around everything. So it probably very well could not even happen. Story for another day. But I would absolutely love to pay my Amex bill off with some Tether or some Circle.
Yeah.
Is that how the problem started? You were like, I want to be able to do this, and created the solution?
Yeah. And by the way, there was a mini question there about internationalization, and our team is very international. My head of marketing is up in Alberta, Canada. So we've got folks from Hawaii to Israel and South Africa. So, and then my last company, WorldCover, was very global. So absolutely our intention to bring this globally, but bridging tradfi into DeFi is, for better or for worse, very much a country at a time or region at a time sort of playbook, just because of the kind of the regulations in the world as it is today. Addressing your question, after WorldCover, Spritz was not, I definitely went through a process and a time of transition, I think, as every founder should do, leaving behind a journey of 6 or 7 years working on that company and pouring my life into it, and then figuring out what's next. It's really important to slow down. There's a great book called literally Transitions, that I think the author's name is Bridges, that talks about this process of leaving something behind, kind of having this no man's land in the middle where you're just kind of letting things come to you naturally, and then this new beginning. And so it took 8 or 9 months to really figure that out. So I knew, in short, that I wanted to do something in crypto, DeFi, Web3. I'm a finance, quant finance nerd by training and by sort of, hobby as well. So DeFi had already attracted me personally. I knew that my next startup would or should be something in fintech, and kind of work with and serve regular people, not just serve like, hedge funders or the super rich or something like that. I'm really passionate about bringing finance and financial tools to the everyday person. And I said, well, how could you build a fintech company today and not integrate Web3? It would just seem
100%.
It just sort of didn't, I didn't have to think too hard about it. I just said that's not going to happen, at least here. But then when it came to what exactly should I build, that's where I really benefited from slowing down, just getting into the products myself, putting myself in, well, I guess my own shoes and figure, what do I want to see in the world? Because I realized from WorldCover, my prior experience, that, in year 3 or year 5 or year 7 of a startup journey, when things are really, really hard, the last thing you want is to be working on something that isn't motivating you fundamentally, even at that point. So you really want to choose something that is near and dear to you. So yeah, that's kind of, in short, a little preview into my process and how I got around to Spritz, which I can go into more detail with.
Yeah. Give me the 30-second elevator pitch. You'll do a hell of a better job than I will explaining it.
Yeah, I mean, the way I tell it, and it's really my own story. Getting into DeFi was such a pleasure. And people they always say the word rabbit hole, but it really is this vortex that kind of sucks you in. And it's kind of both amazing and scary to be able to, on a Friday night, you're watching Netflix, having a beer, and moving around tens of thousands of dollars potentially. You could blow away your net worth, right? With one misclick.
Very true.
Again, on a Friday, Saturday night, and incredibly empowering. And with that power comes a lot of kind of fear as well of making mistakes. The problem is you sort of wake up on Monday, go back to work, and you've got to pay your bills. You've got the mortgage, the car loan, student loans, maybe all this stuff coming out of your checking account, which is fed by your paycheck. And if you're in crypto land, that's still a world that doesn't go away, and you've got to manage it. And it's kind of a bummer when you've just experienced all this power, on your laptop, moving money around. It's kind of a bummer to get that banking experience. So yeah, with Spritz, that's really the core problem and the core kind of dissonance in experience that DeFi users have that we want to address.
And if it was a one-liner, the current one-liner would be almost paying your Amex.
Pay your bills with crypto. Yeah, pay your bills with crypto. Anything coming out of your checking account today, you no longer need your checking account for it. You can pay it straight from your self-custodial wallet.
And does this work for centralized exchanges as well? Or is it just from a self-custody solution?
Yeah, not yet, right? I mean, we were deciding who to build for and who's our key persona. And I went back to, myself and my friends too, who, we all started on Coinbase. I certainly did back in 2014, whenever. Still have assets there. Great. It's a pretty good experience. But it's, once sort of Ethereum got going and all the developers and dApps were created, and then now all the layer 2s, that experience just kind of becomes the next level. And I think sort of like once people taste that experience, again, the power at your fingertips, and now gaming, NFTs, all of that, you sort of don't want to go back necessarily. And so we said, hey, let's build, if we're going to build for the future, let's build for the people who are self-custodying their funds, or at least a large part of their funds, because the UX is pretty tough for that, for those use cases. And let's try to bridge those assets to the real world. So we haven't built a connection to Coinbase per se yet, but you can use the Coinbase wallet, which is actually a self-custody wallet, with Spritz.
How do you build sort of that hybrid Web 2, Web 3 company that you and the team are building? Because again, you can't just be Web 3 and no Web 2 because banking rails are Web 2.
Yeah.
You need, it's impossible. It has to happen. You're almost building the Web 2.5 company. It's a cliche, but your version.
I've heard different. Hi-Fi is another one that I don't know if it'll stick, but yeah.
Your word of it, the hybrid Web 2 / Web 3 company that bridges DeFi and TradFi. How do you do that? Like what, building through a bear market as well, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to build something similar to you? You must have learned a shit ton over the last little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and also built upon what we learned at my last company, which was purely Web 2, and in fintech as well, right? So highly regulated international markets, not a lot of fun, but sort of I don't know if I'd say a necessary evil, if all that regulation is necessary, but it is there. And so if you're going to operate in that world, you definitely need to understand it. But I think any great product and any great company starts with a great team. So it was really important for me to assemble a team of folks who understand both sides of those two worlds, right? So you want people, there are so many people from Web 2 and kind of traditional fintech who are, DeFi diehards on the weekends and kind of dying to apply those skills in a Web 3 way, but maybe they're not ready to just go work full-time for a DAO or just get into smart contract programming, right away, but they have absolutely, traditional software architecture skills and they learn fast. And so that's why when I was going out to recruit engineers and designers, I looked for those types of individuals. And likewise, find some people with the Web3 playbook honed, especially around marketing and growth, community, who are looking to kind of find a project that maybe isn't so bleeding edge or creative or maybe controversial, but one that is kind of firmly rooted in the real world. And so, being able to position Spritz to both sides, to those both communities, as a way to kind of bring their careers further has been really important. And now we've got a great team of people who can talk both languages and are getting better and better over time at both languages.
That's huge. Can you walk me through some of the regulatory shit shows that you had to jump through? Like there must have been just some calls that were just absolute nightmare fuel.
Yeah, I mean, well, as we all know, I think the term is a gray area. And you have like Mark Cuban tweeting at Gary Gensler to just kind of, everyone's begging, like almost like, please regulate me, like just write some rules, write something down so that I don't have to interpret, 100-year-old precedents at various judges and litigate to figure, right? Just tell me what the rules are and I'm happy to play the game, right? The intention there is absolutely to bring innovation forward in a healthy way and not to, dodge taxes or anything like that. So, when I got started, I maybe made the unusual step of right out of the gate after raising our pre-seed of hiring a law firm to advise us on regulatory issues, on monthly retainer, and to really put front and center, say, I know how to build the product that I want to build, but if it's going to be illegal or, invite some issues down the line, then really what's the point, right? It's not, I don't want this thing to come crashing down. And actually, so many of our very early test customers and beta users were asking right off the bat, right? Is this real? Can you do this legally? Is this thing going to last? People want to know, people actually want you to be regulated and be trusted. And so that was my approach. Now, of course, what came out of that approach wasn't necessarily, yeah, Chris, if you do A or B, you're good. If you do C, you're not good. That would have been nice, for my MIT engineer brain to kind of know, yes, here's the recipe. Follow the recipe, you're good. But that just doesn't exist. And you'll have, some lawyers will say, kind of, you can't do anything. Other lawyers will say, do anything. And you have to really get into it yourself and kind of understand what the regulations are and then ultimately make a judgment call. But we were able to work with some folks that kind of gave us a narrow set of lanes that we could play in, which would still be regulated around money transmission, but would allow us to operate our business without an incredibly onerous licensing process that would, cost millions and millions of dollars and take years and years, right? And so, yeah, we've kind of found a way to navigate that. That works for us right now. And then as we level up, we can evolve.
That must have been crazy. First big hire coming out of the funding gate was literally a law firm on retainer.
But yeah, a little bit. So
hefty 5 digits a month.
Yeah, I mean, thereabouts, maybe not quite, but it's we raised about $2.5 million pre-seed, so we were able to. My motto is sort of, just move fast, but don't break things in some ways. So, that felt like an expense that made a lot of sense for us, and then it was a relationship we could scale up and scale down. Once we sort of had some answers and we knew how we could build, we could scale that down, and so they've been great partners.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Spritz Finance itself, from the customer standpoint, I sign up as an American citizen, which I'm not, but let's just say I was in your amazing country.
U.S. residence citizenship is not really a test. Today it's residence. And even then, you need to have U.S.-based liabilities and bills. So if you have an Amazon credit card from a U.S. bank, then I believe you can still use Spritz. But yeah, okay. Anyway.
So if I pass all those tests on the workflow side of things, on the actual customer journey, I sign up for an account on Spritz. I then send money, aka crypto, aka USDT or Polygon or ETH or USDC, from my self-custodial wallet to you guys, and then you guys pay my Amex? How does the workflow actually work?
Yeah, more or less, right? So you sign up, and then you need to add bills, whatever you've got, right? So I mentioned beyond the Amex, there's mortgages. If you had like a Rocket mortgage, Amazon credit card, if you have student loans, if you have a car loan, I have a Volvo car loan that I pay through Spritz. And then you can even add, your newspaper, like the Boston Globe is supported. Sick. So big or small, if you want to start with $10 or $10,000, you can do it, right? We will find that users will start with make a tiny payment to your Amex. You see that it goes through. Now let's make a bigger payment. Let's maybe bring in the student loan, or let's bring in the mortgage. So start small and scale up. So you just add bills, and we have a nifty way to surface those bills as part of KYC. We'll actually get a list from our bill provider. We work with some partners that kind of aggregate these billing services. We'll actually get a list of some of the known bills that you might have. So if you have a mortgage that's out there and you have an Amex, gold card, then we'll actually be able to surface that, and you can just click check, add the bill, or you can do a search to find the bill that you want to add. It'll then show up on the bill pane, which will show when it's due, all the things that you might expect in a personal finance app. And then you can click the bill to make a payment. So you just hit pay $100. You'll choose which asset you want to use. So it could be USDC, USDT, but we're actually now releasing a functionality to pay with virtually any token. We could talk about how we do that technically, but you could play with, Dogecoin. And then it generates a single blockchain transaction for you to transfer crypto from your wallet to Spritz's wallet. When we see that blockchain transaction finalized, we issue out a payment right away to your biller over the fiat banking rails. And it is going over the banking rails. It's typically faster than if you did it yourself from your own bank, which might be 3 business days or so. So sometimes it's 1 or 2 business days for us, but it's all trackable, and we kind of track the payment the whole way, and then it's credited to your account.
So cool. Folks, we're going to take a quick break and give a massive shout out to our sponsor of the show, Prime XBT. You guys know that I love Prime XBT, as I've been using them for almost 2 years now. Why do I love them? Because they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. Doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet, you can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promo for listeners of the CryptoNews podcast. You can use the promo code CryptoNews50, that is CryptoNews50, to take advantage of the offer, and you get 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. And now back to the show with Chris. That was such an interesting point you brought up. I want to talk more about paying with different currencies. When you're paying with a stable coin, obviously there's no volatility. But when you're paying with even ETH, it's really not going to move, more than 10 ticks in a day. But if you're paying with something like Doge or an absolute shite coin that could literally, go up and down 50 ticks in one day, maybe 100 ticks, how do you guys deal with that? Do you guys have a trading team on the back end? You use some algo? Like what's the secret sauce there?
So the secret sauce is actually kind of out in the open, right? We can use DEXs, decentralized exchanges, and compose those DEXs with our transfer smart contracts to ensure that you can put Doge in one side and out the other side, Spritz gets an amount of USDC or stable coin, right? So there's actually a swap that's done in transit with your asset right up until the moment that you want to pay the bill. So yeah, there's lots of ways to deal with the issue, but we felt like this is the fairest, most transparent, in most cases, lowest cost way for you to get the best price. It's probably a tool, tools you're already using. And then for Spritz, where we don't need to take the risk of warehousing and liquidating these assets at other times. So yeah, it's been an interesting, that's really where a lot of our smart contract work has gone to up until this point. Of course, we're going to be adding some subscription services and ways to schedule auto pay and repeat payments in the future as well.
That's such a treat. Another very interesting point is you guys chose to build on the Polygon ecosystem, which seems like almost a no-brainer. Everyone seems to be doing it at the moment for incredible reasons. Before we get into that, did you see the news that broke today? Polygon Starbucks?
I did, yeah. And I read the news and tweeted about it because I saw you could buy collectibles, but I was wondering if you could buy coffee because that's sort of what you do at Starbucks. But I think it's, just to see those two logos together that I think Sandeep tweeted out was pretty astounding. So he and his whole team, actually, it's quite decentralized now, have been doing amazing work over 2022 to get these partnerships.
I think the most important part about those partnerships is the domino effect, where it's like a bunch of, boardrooms at Fortune 500 companies see that and go, well, shit, if Starbs is getting in, maybe it's time for us to put our tap dancing shoes on and, get on the dance floor a little bit. I think that's it. But just like you said, the first thing I thought of wasn't the buying coffee. It was like, what's it going to be? And then that was later on down my thought process because it just said like digital stamps pretty much, said digital collectibles and learning more about coffee and specific and unique clubs, which I get all of that. But again, at the end of the day, why do you go to Starbucks? To get a cup of Joe or a friggin' breakfast sandwich, right? Like that's what it's all about.
It's all good. I think these brands, they like to, it's almost like they're warehousing the Web3 initiatives in kind of a skunk works or a separate, they don't want to touch the core operations. You don't 100%. Want to necessarily have a Bitcoin, a receiving phone next to your espresso machine, I guess, yet, but that's coming, right? So I don't know, maybe they think it'll break something. And
what about you guys? What was was there another chain that potentially could have been the chain for Spritz, or was it always just Polygon from the get-go?
Well, yeah, Polygon was, so this was really some of our earliest customer development work was in November, December 2021 into earlier this year. It was just before kind of Arbitrum and Avalanche were kind of getting launched around that time. Polygon was already established. And so when I was going back to kind of the everyday Joe who's into DeFi, gas was getting expensive on mainnet. So Polygon was really the plurality of folks that I was talking to were on Polygon. But I met some people that, the one thing I learned about Web3 and DeFi back then is that there is no right answer to kind of build on, and there's no right answer for any given user. And if you really take, the customer is always right, it can be challenging to decide, because I heard the first person would say, I'm only on Solana. If you don't support Solana, I will not use Spritz. Okay, thank you very much. And next person says, Solana is creepy. It just creeps me out, man. I don't know what is that consensus mechanism? No, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I'm on Terra, right? like a lot of people were on Terra actually, you know, at the point, at that point. And so, you know, and then you get people on Polygon, but really Polygon I felt like was a really like anchored very well, grounded, had a lot of developers. The tooling was very similar to a lot of the other EVM chains. We're using Alchemy's tools and their APIs, which supported Polygon well. So it just felt like a really great place to start. And then I was able to actually get in contact with Sandeep while we were doing our pre-seed, and he invested in our pre-seed as well. And their team has been fantastic. So, you know, it's been all great from there. Will we be Polygon only forever? No. Is it a wonderful place to start? And are we happy with that decision? Absolutely.
And just like you mentioned earlier as well, their biz dev team, absolutely world-class, fully decentralized team all over the world. They are a treat. I've worked with them in the past as well. They are an absolute treat to work with. They get shit done quickly, very transparent, very helpful. It seems like they check off most of the boxes, whereas a lot of other chains are, you know, it's almost sort of like that Apple, Google, Facebook-esque where it's like, you know, lights are on, but nobody's home, right?
Yeah, totally. I think they're super responsive. They're highly energized. They just want to help the ecosystem. You know, that's kind of their guiding light. And there's a real sort of, you know, you get this kind of pay it forward mentality in crypto a lot, but I think the folks in the Polygon ecosystem are especially, you know, I'm in a lot of the group chats, especially like that. So, of course, being decentralized, having separate teams for ecosystem, for gaming. I know they're maybe doing some things internally to reorganize. You know, it's not as, you know, there's not like a Rolodex and a CRM, I think, like, you know, you'd have at that Google or Apple, like you're talking about. So you do get some of the negatives of that, but, you know, by and large, it's pretty astounding what they're able to do and the speed at which they're able to connect founders and projects together.
100%. Let's talk about your roadmap. You gave us a little tidbit of what's next in regards to different coins and different cryptos being accepted. Yeah. What else is on your plate for the next couple months, perhaps years?
Yeah, I mean, well, today Spritz is, you know, pay bills with crypto. So it's a very easy value proposition. Pay your mortgage with crypto, pay your Amex with crypto. Very simple and easy to understand. But the wider vision is really around a lifestyle app, right? A crypto lifestyle app. So people who are DeFi degens, DeFi diehards, living their lives, much of their financial lives in Web3, maybe even earning even passively in Web3. Maybe they're freelancers or they're earning by, you know, by gaming, by yield farming. They're living a Web3 lifestyle. But how do you bridge that lifestyle to the real world? And we want Spritz to be the answer for you. So paying your bills is a major step, but it's certainly not everything, right? So what about just making other, like if you can't use crypto at Starbucks, then what about a card, a Spritz card to pay for something at Starbucks and actually use your assets in your Web3 wallet to pay those assets, right? So anything you can do from a custody basis. What about getting paid and direct deposit instead of direct depositing to your bank account, direct depositing to your self-custody wallet, right? What about on and off ramping directly from and to your self-custody wallet, right? So we're really kind of skipping the bank, skipping CeFi, and just allowing you to supercharge your Web3 wallet, your self-custodied assets, and go about your real life. So it's those sorts of products and services that we want to bring under the Spritz umbrella. And so, you know, it's going much more beyond just kind of better bill pay and so forth, but kind of bringing in these lifestyle use cases to everybody.
Lifestyle app. I like that. It's trendy. It's very trendy. Why the name? Why Spritz?
Yeah, you know, look, I came off the back of a very serious startup. You know, we were selling drought insurance to subsistence farmers in Africa, right? So very, very, very serious. You know, not to say what we're doing now isn't life-changing, right? But truly, viscerally life-changing before. And, you know, there's a lot of anxiety that comes with that, a lot of, you know, needing things to work. And I said, you know what? For this next startup, I want to build something great. I want to have a great team, and I just want to have fun. I want to bring joy to something, even when it's serious and maybe even boring, right? Paying bills. Who wants to spend more than a microsecond thinking about bills? Or like, that's not what I'm attracted to. But how can we bring some fun and playfulness to that? And then, the spritz, the Aperol spritz, I'm really into cocktails, really into travel. Not so much during COVID. I have a 2-year-old at home now too, so now this is a bit more of a fantasy than a reality. But sitting on a beach in, I don't know, Italy somewhere with an Aperol spritz is the absolute image of, you're relaxed, you're feeling secure, you're feeling just calm, and like everything's taken care of, right? And for us, that's kind of the image we want with your bills and with your money, right? You're on the beach, relax, because your money's working for you elsewhere, right? Spritz has it taking, and the whole theme of cocktails, beach is just a wonderful place to play. And Spritz is a really easy. If I talk to you in a bar and say, "Hey, we're Spritz Finance," I hope you'll remember that versus saying something else. So, we're really happy it was Dave was available and went with it. And our lead visual designer Tammy, who's out in Hawaii, has just done a fantastic job with the art direction, the app, the colors, and I think it's sort of I get this little jolt of I don't know, dopamine or something, excitement, right, when I see the app, and that's what I want our users to get to.
That is great branding.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it is a treat. It's a great name. It rolls off the tongue nice, and eventually I'm sure it will be referred to as Spritz and not Spritz Finance. I think so. Even in my early pitches, we were Spritz.finance. I had the domain was like part of it. I thought I was clever, but it's okay. Spritz Finance, and then just Spritz app, like Revolut. It's just Revolut. It's not Revolut Finance. So in some ways, I think there's some parallels to what they're doing to our end vision. I feel you there, Chris. We're getting a little tight for time, so a couple more questions here. And this has been an absolute treat, by the way.
Likewise.
Let's put our shit kicking boots on. Let's jump in the hot take factory. And I want to hear some hot takes from you. I feel like you got a bunch of them. It can be crypto related, life, politics, nutrition, sports, you name it. But what's something that only Chris believes in that most other people do not?
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm really passionate about the kind of, bring your whole self to work thing. And there's been this backlash, like bring your work self to work, don't bring your whole self to work. Right. And, come back to the office. And I don't know, throughout my career, I've just, had this, it's a not so secret weapon anymore, but being able to hire someone anywhere in the world with, who's a wonderful human and has an amazing brain or skill or, artistic ability to them, is just, I don't understand why companies would pass that up. And so I'm really vocal and a proponent of, allowing people to kind of work where they want, how they want, and then, get shit done in the meantime. But, life is short. Let's enjoy ourselves and create a positive environment for each other in the meantime.
Well done. Great friggin' take. That's very true.
Thanks, man. It's a hot take in one way, maybe not so much in another, but it is important to me.
No, that's good. Last one. You built 2 startups. One very successful, got acquired. The other en route to becoming that. Biggest piece of advice. One takeaway from building startups.
Yeah, man. And by the way, we sold the IP, so it was, it wasn't a smashing success, but it was in some ways, one of the most amazing and productive journeys of my life. So, in other ways, definitely a success, but definitely looking for both with Spritz. I would say keep it simple. At least that's the advice I tell myself, because I often don't keep it simple. But I find that the very best startups in the world, if you were to just say, what do they do in 3 lines, in 3 words, you'd be able to do that, right? Uber, hail a taxi with an app, right?
Yeah.
Apple, amazing hardware and software combined. Google, find stuff online, right? Yeah. It's like just, and anyone can do that. Whereas when we're describing our own startups, it's like, here's the whole pitch. And so just keep it simple. And that's the best way to succeed a lot of times.
I love that. Chris, you brought the noise, man. Thanks for coming on. This has been an absolute treat. Before we let you go, can you please let our listeners know where they can find you and Spritz online and on socials? Yeah,
Spritz.finance. Very easy. We're rolling out a new website in even a couple of weeks. We've got amazing content there around yield farming, security of self-custody wallets, bill pay, whatever. You can sign up for our waitlist as well, which we're still in closed beta, but we're bringing some people off. We've also got a wonderful Discord with all of that content. And I'm on Twitter at CT_Sheehan. CT, I'm living in Connecticut, and T is my middle name. So CT_Sheehan on Twitter, Spritz.finance for the app.
And crypto Twitter as well, CT. Crypto
Of course.
Twitter.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Sure.
Another one to the party. Chris, thanks so much, man. This was a lot of fun, learned a ton, and root for you guys. Not that you'll need it, but rooting for you. Can't wait till it's available in Canada. I will be, send me an invite for the beta when it gets to Canada. Or even better, the alpha, hit me up.
Yeah.
But thanks again, man. Appreciate it. And I'd love to have you on for round 2 in the next couple months.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Matt. This was an absolute blast. So we'll catch you later.
Folks, what an episode with Christopher Sheehan from Spritz Finance. You want to learn about startups? He gave it to you. You want to learn about DeFi and CeFi and TradFi and bridging those gaps? He gave it to you. A lot of knowledge bombs. Treat of an episode. Chris, thanks again for coming on. Folks, if you enjoyed this one, I hope you did. Please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. You're the GOATs. Thank you so much for everything. And to the listeners, keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.